webinars, go ahead and drop those cities that you are dialed in from. I'm going to get these last few minute submissions to participate in while you all are shouting out your cities and or countries. And then I'll go ahead and get our cameras turned on. Oh, y'all being shy today? I know some of y'all have said it every time, but come on, where are y'all calling in from today? Let's get some crowd participation. Or maybe my thing. Maybe my thing is delayed. Let's see. Hold on. All right, that's it. Anyone else that tries to sign up, they're just going to have to wait. We're here. We're live. You good, Angelina? I think you're muted.
Oh, I'm off mute. Okay.
There you go. All right, we're here. Okay, wait, let's see. Okay, here we go. We got Trenton, New Jersey, Detroit, Raleigh, Orange County, California, Eastern Shore of Virginia. You're back in the house. Of course, we have Raleigh, we have Greensboro, Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Hey, Ebony, you made it in, girl. Ebony Chester.
Hey, Portia.
Durham, but she's currently in Elizabeth City, Inglewood, New Jersey. Let's see. All right, y'all. We're about 5 minutes after. I like to start a little after because, of course, we get tons of people that sign up right at the start time. I like to try to get them in the door. Let's see. Coral Hills, Maryland. Oh, St. Clair. Hey, girl. Wait, I thought you lived in Capitol Heights, Maryland. But maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, all right, we'll go ahead and get this thing moving. I think I got everybody cleared. Good afternoon, everyone. We have pretty much made it through the second week of a full week of quarantine work for most people. She said, oh, you were trying to make it sound fancy. So we made it through our first kind of second week of work. So we're here today to talk to another good friend of mine. Pretty much a lot of the ladies that are participating in are good girlfriends of mine. Angelina Darrisaw, she lives in Brooklyn.
I live in Manhattan, but I'm originally from Brooklyn.
Okay. She lives in Manhattan, New York. Regardless, she's in New York. She's a career coach, and I'm going to let her take over from here to let you all know some interesting facts about her.
Ooh, interesting facts. Well, one, hi, everyone. Welcome to my apartment. So normally we would be in offices right now, but I've been taking all of my webinars from home. So thank you for bearing with me as I'm in my living room, and you can see my kitchen in the background. My business is called C-Suite Coach, and actually I'm coming close to 5 years of being in business. And it's just been an amazing journey with lots of highs and lots of lows. And I've been in a lot of reflection lately, just thinking about the fact that I have worked independently for five years, which is a really long time. Essentially what we do are provide career coaching services in a number of different capacities. Our primary function is doing coach management. So what that means is staffing coaches, training coaches, and managing coaches for programs that help support talent to be successful in what they do. So we've staffed coaches for everything from offsites for big companies to ongoing programs that companies have where they're looking for coaches to help develop a group of talent. And we always focus in the diversity and inclusion space. So targeting the skills that are necessary to support Black and Latinx people, all people of color.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Love it. If a lot of the ladies that are here, if you've been to any of our events, whether it's She Prevails or the Beatless meetups in New York, she has been a part of it. She is a huge supporter of the brand. So I appreciate you for welcoming us into your apartment that looks so clean and organized.
Thank you. Yes.
I know you've been on the organizing hunt.
I have definitely been organizing. Right? What was that?
This is kind of like perfect timing to have your apartment decluttered and now you got to spend time in it.
Exactly. I'm so grateful for that. I've spent the last couple of weeks doing a process of decluttering, which I think is just really important to always assess your space and make sure that you're happy and comfortable with the things that are in your space.
Nice, nice. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Okay. Got a little introduction first. So leveraging crossover skills when changing careers or jobs is your most important persuasion tool to gain acceptance in job interviews. So crossover skills are those you've gathered through jobs, classes, volunteer work, hobbies, sports, projects, parenting, and any other life experience that can be valuable to your new career. Crossover skills go straight to the heart of the employer's question, can you actually do the job? Career coach here, Angelina, is here to help you identify your crossover skills to an interviewer and translate how they actually can make you immediately productive in your new space. So, kind of already touched on this a little bit. How has your day-to-day life actually changed since the coronavirus outbreak?
Wow. So one of the things is a lot of the programming that my company takes part in is all in-person training and events. We do a lot of training for talent at work and also within communities to support small business owners and their needs as well. And so the immediate effect has just been dealing with corona response and communicating to partners where we've had to reschedule events, where we've had to cancel. The other part of it is, as a business owner, I have staff, I have people that depend on me to make sure that their needs are met, that they're getting paid, and I have contractors as well. So just working out the terms to make sure that I'm protecting the people around me and advocating, and also making sure that I'm fulfilling on what they need so that their lives aren't disrupted financially as much as possible has been a big part of the corona response for me. Yeah. I would say the other thing, as we're just thinking about this idea and theme of pivot and transferring skills, I've also had to be very creative and think about how do we do the work that we do when there's not necessarily a timeline on when this response will be over or when we'll need to, stop quarantining. We don't have a timeline for that. Mm-hmm. So what that's meant is I've had to learn some new technical skills myself. Right. I am not a webinar person all the time. Crazy. I love technology. I have three laptops and 2 phones. But last night, for instance, we had a webinar and we had technical difficulties. Some of these platforms are overloaded, and I've had to learn how to work through all of those challenges to make sure I can still meet the needs of my customers.
Right. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Mine was just freezing when you said that. And yesterday, my screen completely went off and I had to log back in and everyone was like, what happened? But anyway, we're here. And like you said, it's because everyone is using Zoom right now, between educators, a lot of businesses, even just family and friends.
Churches.
Right now. Yes.
Everything has moved virtual.
So tell us and ladies, if this is your first time logging in, if you have a question, you can drop it in the Q&A box or in the chat box. We will make sure that we get all of the answers to your questions today. So what actually are crossover skills, and can you name a few examples of some crossover skills?
Yes, and I think that this theme of thinking about what your crossover skills are and how to tell the story of those skills is something that's important, whether or not you're changing an actual industry or if you're even just thinking about how to advance yourself and get promoted. You have to be able to tell the story of what you've currently done to date, how you're able to translate that into the next thing you want to do. So that could be a different industry, it could be a different position, it could be a different department. So what do crossover skills look like? Those are the things that are going to be you're able to leverage in any next position that you have. So for example, I think about the easiest way I think about this is when I was first interviewing and getting started out in my career, I had internship experience and I was trying to translate that into a full-time role. So I had to be able to communicate what I had learned in my jobs as a resident life advisor. So for instance, I was in residence life staff when I was in college, and be able to say, this would make me eligible for this position I'm seeking for. So trying to find out how do you communicate that just starts with what are the pieces that would relate to this position. So a good example, let's take things that are totally not related. I was a residence life, head of residence life on my campus, and I was trying to get a marketing position at ESPN. So I said, a lot of this role requires ability to connect with clients. As a residence life advisor, I was constantly dealing with crisis communications. My client pool would be the people who were in my dorms, and I would have to alleviate their concerns and communicate with them. I also did a lot of events in residence life, so there was marketing that came along with doing those events and how to drive an audience to those events. So that's a very basic example, but I say that to say any experience that you may have had in your career, even if it's not a corporate experience and you're trying to get in corporate, there are things that you've done that connect to your ability to serve customers well, your ability to leverage marketing skills well. Think about any of those pieces that you can translate into that next position. So I think it's really important to highlight those things. Other things that you can highlight are if you have had a role where you've been very analytical. Maybe you've had to do some data scrubbing, or you have a great deal of experience in spreadsheets. It doesn't matter necessarily if you're in finance or if you're in marketing. If you know how to use spreadsheets well and you really understand how to analyze data, you can transfer that to just about any industry. So think about those technical skills that you have as well that really are industry agnostic.
Gotcha. Is there anyone on the video or call today that is thinking about changing their careers and a little unsure of how their current career and new career can be switched over? So for like a short answer, what is your current career and what is it that you are trying to pursue? Just want to kind of hear some examples if anyone feels lost. I see that Ebony said that, she's definitely looking for a new career, but what exactly does that look like? So can you share the best practices to show your transferable skills to your new employer? You kind of said it in your first example, but kind of going, I guess, a little deeper, like exactly like how can you, I would find it very difficult to be able to walk into a room and you did it and want to apply to work for ESPN and all it had was resident life experience. Like what kind of steps did you take to make you more marketable per se?
Absolutely. So I think to your point right there, it's about marketability. And when you think about what is good good marketing is being able to effectively communicate a story to the audience. And what that means is I have to really know what it is I'm trying to communicate. So the first thing I would say is you really need to focus on diving deep into the job descriptions of the areas in which you want to transfer into. And when you dive in deep, you can read the descriptions, take them line by line, and see where have I done things in my career that relate to what this description is telling me I need to do, and try to just begin that process of making that connection in your own mind. So that would be the first step. Then the second step is as you do that, so now you're understanding what needs to be communicated, then you have to communicate it, right? So that process is about tweaking your resume and making sure that you're customizing it so it makes sense to the industry, so it makes sense to the positions that you're applying for. You really want to make sure that you're not leveraging, for instance, jargon from your previous industry that's not going to be really relevant in this industry. And so if on the new job description it says it's really important that you have a client management experience, and you're thinking, well, my last job was, I was a cashier at Whole Foods, and now I want this corporate job that says I need client management experience. Okay, well, guess what? You connected with clients every day. You were front facing. So maybe you had put on your initial resume something along the lines of, I checked people out, or I was the head of checkout, whatever the case might be. Now you need to reframe that and match the language in the new job description that you're going for, and say, handle client care, X amount of clients dealt with X amount of clients per week, put some metrics behind what you do. And now you're beginning to speak in the language of what that new role requires.
Nice. Let's see. We have a couple of comments. So Ebony Williamson says, we have quite a few Ebony's on today. Ebony Williamson, she said, I am a marketing and business teacher and want to transfer to a marketing position. That should be easier, right?
So what I think the biggest challenge is, and this happens again, even within the same industry. I remember, for instance, when I was doing my first company change from ESPN to Viacom, initially when they saw my resume, they said, well, it doesn't look like or you have this direct experience that we're looking for. And I realized for me that was a marketing issue and a communication issue, because here I was moving in the same industry to a very similar position, but I just hadn't effectively communicated that I had transferable skills. And so it actually took, for me, building a relationship with the HR person to be able to change that. And I learned from that experience. So I would say that sometimes, I hear you, Ebony, because sometimes you could have the tactical experience, but the person might say, but you haven't done it with, we're marketing to children for our toy company, and you haven't done it exactly this way. So what you need to then highlight instead is areas in which you have connected with an audience, use their language, and try to demonstrate where you have done the actual responsibilities that they're requiring of you.
Nice. Makes total sense. And Ebony, let us know if that she says thank you. Ashley Robinson says, not necessarily switching over, but trying to understand fully how my career talents and skills can be utilized and transferred to my side hustle and business. In my mind, I often keep them separate. We're going to table that one because that is a question that we have later in the discussion. So we will touch on that, Ashley. Shanita says that she has 18 years of healthcare experience working in the insurance industry, and she's also a certified project manager seeking to gain experience managing projects in another industry. But I've encountered difficulties convincing hiring managers that my skills are transferable across any industry? How can I how can I be a better success by convincing them?
So when it comes to transferring across industry, I would think about, again, the technical skills. It sounds like you actually have project management certifications. So I would really focus and highlight that. I would ask for examples. When you're getting pushback, I would be asking for examples of what it is they're really seeking from a person in that role, and try to match them with your own anecdotes of where in your career you've done exactly what they're talking about. I think that when you are also, it sounds like you're doing more of an industry switch. It's very helpful to start to build relationships in that industry. And we talked a little bit just a second ago about, the jargon of the industry, being able to familiarize yourself with the terms of the industry, because that can help create the perception that, one, even though you may not be from that industry, that you're doing the research and you are really dedicated and committed to learning about the industry. And then it also helps you use their language with them, and that can build trust with a new employer as well.
Nice. So that kind of takes us into our next question. What I was going to say is, perhaps you're not actually looking to change careers, but you want to advance in your career itself. What steps would you identify and leverage skills in order to make the transition successful? So of course, we know networking, getting to know different people in the positions that make the decisions or have influence on the positions. But is there anything still that you need to do as an applicant in order to stand out from the rest?
Yeah, so I will tackle this question in two ways, because this is kind of along the lines of a journey that I'm going through with my business right now, in terms of, when you're a business owner, maybe you don't call it getting promoted, but you are looking sometimes for growth and scale.
Right.
And that's almost a similar process. So the first thing I will say, and I did this week, is I had a strategy meeting with some of my key advisors. I highly recommend that you have people around you. So it's great to network, but really it's required that you're intentional about what building that network looks like. And I would say you want to make sure you have people around you who you can trust to give you high quality feedback, who can ask you very provocative questions that are going to get you to think about your own experience and skills in another way, and also who have established some level of success that you're aspiring to. It may not be directly in your field, but they have some sort of proven success in that you are inspired by, because that's also going to be helpful. So I say that to say, when you get an opportunity and you can meet with your mentors, meet with your advisors, or those people that you put in your circle, I would be asking them for feedback about how they see your professional brand. If you do have a small business, how they see the brand promise of your business being delivered in the audiences that you have exposure to, how they're perceiving you. And I think that what can be really enriching about this exercise is frequently, I think we have all women on the chat. I'm just looking.
Yeah, I think so.
Right now we have all women on the chat. I notice this more with women I've interacted with than anyone else. And I think that we have a tendency to not always promote our skills as fully as we could. We don't always promote our accomplishments and speak to that. So when it comes to thinking about advancing in your career, getting further in your business, it really is about effectively telling that story strongly of everything you've accomplished to date, and being able to get very comfortable with telling the story of your accomplishments. Because there are things, for instance, I'll just speak from my personal experience, that I've done that I forget I do. There are things that I've done that, because I do them all the time, I don't even feel always proud or excited about it, so I don't share it. And then I recognized, in speaking with my advisors, he said, well, let's just take a minute to acknowledge that you have been, you know, a supplier for X amount of companies for X amount of years. And I said, well, when you put it like that, it sounds good. So you need those people in your circle who have a good eye for being able to call out for you the areas that maybe you're not highlighting enough that you want to highlight to get to that next level.
That's true. How many people on the call are guilty of not sharing their successes with the public, with your family, friends, social media, whatever the case may be? Just kind of curious on who. I see a few raised hands.
Guilty. Okay, so for
a lot of raised hands.
So I'm going to make an action item for all of you.
Yeah.
An action item. I know you're all on some social media. Maybe it's LinkedIn. Maybe it's Instagram. I want you to share an accomplishment that you've had recently on one of the platforms that you're a part of. I want you to just share it. Find the language that feels comfortable for you, but share something that you're, even if it's an old, I mean, we have Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday, whatever. Share something that you've done previously that you are proud of with your audience.
And I say that to say that, like, sharing your, you don't have to share your life, but literally sharing your accomplishments or what it is you do for a living or businesses or whatever the case may be, it only gives you exposure. And it only allows you to continue to be seen by more people for further opportunities. Because I've never been shy. I've never been a shy person to share anything that I have going on professionally. And I will say that I have had I got connected with Angelina from sharing about an event that I was proud that I was putting on. And then someone said, you should be connected with her. And it's been the best connection ever. So I just always tell people, like, don't be afraid. I know it feels weird. In one platform that is really good, and it's probably like the 20th time we talked about it on these webinars, is LinkedIn. Everybody on LinkedIn is sharing their accomplishments, and no one is looking at someone crazy. They're not thinking that they're better than anyone. That is what that platform is for, is to network and to get to know other people. So start there. If you're scared, just start with LinkedIn, because everybody's doing it.
And if you're also feeling some trepidation around sharing, one other thing I think is a good way to frame it up is there are younger people, there are people who are your peers who would be very inspired to know that you're doing the work that you're doing. And when you're not sharing what you're doing, you're missing an opportunity to have a greater impact that's outside of you. So when you think about it, try to just think about it as actually something that's very selfless of you. Don't think about it from the standpoint only of it's all about me, and what can I get from this? But there are people that you are going to have a positive impact on when you share the work that you've done. They want to know about it, and they're going to be inspired by hearing your story.
Absolutely. So we've talked about everything that you should do in order to, show those transferable skills. What are some examples of some non-transferable skills or work history that employers will view negatively in an applicant?
So I always think that there's a way to put a positive spin on everything. So I struggle with the idea when I was thinking about this question of what are the negative things that you should not share. But I think that there are definitely areas that you want to be mindful of. So one, for instance, I do want to highlight again this theme of making sure that you've researched the industry or research wherever you're trying to make a change to, because nothing signals that you can't transfer your skills more than you seeming unprepared. So if you are trying to make any sort of change in your career, you really want to make sure that you've been thorough about doing the research. Showing up unprepared just reflects really negatively, and you could have all the experience in the world, but it does really diminish your credibility when you haven't done that preparation. So I'd highly recommend making sure you've done your diligence there. I would also say keep in mind as you're telling the story of your transferable skills, that if you're coming from a really different industry, say, I'm going from nursing into media. I've seen all kinds of transitions. So I want to put that out there to just encourage you that it really can be done. But I'm not going to use all of my nursing terminology that this media person, hiring manager, is not going to be familiar with. I need to make sure I'm telling my stories in a way, as I'm sharing the anecdotes of my career, in a way that are going to relate to the audience who I'm now trying to communicate that to. So you really want to shy away from using technical industry terms of your past industry that aren't going to be relevant to this current hiring manager. And then I would also just say, you want to talk about why you're making the change in a positive light. There's nothing that hiring managers appreciate more than enthusiasm. So you might be making a change because that industry didn't pay enough, or you really couldn't stand your coworkers, or you got fired and you did something crazy. Whatever your reasoning for making the change,
We can't hear you.
this,
We can't hear.
oh, I
There
might
you
have,
go.
okay.
We're back.
We're back. So instead,
Oh, you're gone again. Uh-uh. Mm-mm.
hold on one second. Am I
Okay,
back?
yeah.
Okay. Internet's, sorry about that. So
You're fine.
instead, I would really focus on what I'm excited about in the current industry, what has drawn me to it, why I think it would be a good fit for my personality and my skill set, as opposed to having a negative light on what you didn't like about your past role and position.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. We got a couple of questions that have come through as well. But I do want to give an example. When I used to work for the county, so I was a supervisor, and we had an interview with a girl, and I mean, it was going great and everything. It was like, well, why exactly are you seeking this position? Like, what has brought you in today? And she said, honestly, I didn't get along with any of my coworkers at the other job, and I'm just looking for a new environment.
No.
That was it. I was so upset because I was like, this is my girl. She gonna be because I was looking for it. I needed a executive assistant because of my position. I was like a solo dolo position I was doing. So they were looking for someone. And I was like, I mean, it's just gonna be me or her, but I can't hire you because you just said that. I know that that's the reality typically, not for everyone, but you can't come in there. Like, it's okay to be honest, but you can't be too honest. Like, you could have left that out the door, and everyone was like, you're not going to pick her. I was like, no, I can't, even if I wanted to. So just kind of pointing that out. I think a lot of times people think that we have to be so raw and so real all the time, and it's okay, but I think that might need to come after you sign your name on the dotted line with details like personal experiences at work.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. You always want to tell the story of what you're looking forward to and what attracted you about that, because that's really what hiring managers want to hear. If you're coming in and already appearing negative, they're long term not going to want to work with you.
Right. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, a lot of people said that they were guilty about that, but we already talked about that. We're going to share at least one thing. I know a lot of y'all names on here, not all, but I'm going to be looking for these accomplishments.
Me too. I want to see those accomplishments.
Tag us in there.
Tag us in the accomplishments.
Jakia said, okay, wait. No, Portia said, I'm thinking of making a transition from arts project management to tech projects management that benefits the arts. Any tips or suggestions on that?
So I would focus on a couple of things. One, it sounds like if the work you're transferring to benefits the industry you're already a part of, I would speak to how you would bring a unique perspective to this new role because you understand really their client base or the end user. It sounds like if their work benefits the arts and you're coming from the arts, then you have a unique understanding of the client pool that they're reaching. So I would really harp on those points. And then the other.
Oh, I think we lost her. Uh-oh. Let's see. She'll log back in. You back?
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Did you miss that? Did it come through what I said to Portia? Okay. So I'll just share again quickly. Okay. Here is where I would focus on your technical skills that transfer over. So if you have had success as a project manager, you want to highlight that and really focus on how your role as a project manager can translate across industries. The other thing I think is really important. Oh no. Okay.
Everybody in your building must be on Zoom right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Well, I'll type some notes in the chat for Portia as well.
Okay. I wanted to kind of go back to Ashley's question, because I think we touched on it, but not all the way. Her kind of question or issue that she's dealing with is that she's not necessarily switching her career, but she's trying to determine how her career talents and skills can be used and transferred to her side hustle or business. Because in her mind, she likes to keep them separate. And to give you a background, she has a comedy lounge with her husband on the side where they put on comedy shows. And then for her full time, she works in public health. So she's in like the public health type field of work.
So, you know your business needs best and you know the areas of opportunity that exist. I would be thinking about, even if you just take a week of a day in the life of your work life, I would look at what are the skills and tasks that excite me the most, where are the areas in which I excel the most, where am I constantly getting good feedback about what I do well, and catalog that for about a week and a half. Just give yourself a period of time to assess what it is you do really well. Mm-hmm. And then moving on from there, look at the roles that are required in your business and see if any of those skills would be helpful to moving your business to the next stage.
Nice. That's good. Ladies, if you have any other questions, just kind of keep dropping them in. I'll keep rolling. We still got a little bit more time for us to kind of go into everything. Good. Actually, I'm glad we answered that. I was like, I don't think we answered your question all the way. I know we have a few business owners on the line, and kind of to go back to we talked about this a lot earlier, but let's say, for instance, let's give me for an example. I have a wedding event planning company, and at this point now, I'm looking to kind of switch and pivot it to be focused a little bit more on social events. So that's not necessarily really changing careers, but it's kind of changing its services that we're focusing on. So almost as if it's kind of like rebranding your company. I would think this would kind of be in lines of changing careers. So do you have any advice for someone who is in a point of where they're trying to change the branding or the look and the feel or the prices and services that they actually offer to people?
Yes, I would definitely say that this goes back to the idea of cataloging your accomplishments, because say you're looking for investors, right? Or you're looking for a new client base when you're making that pivot. If you can speak to how you've done a really good job at a wedding planner and define some of your successes in a tangible way, you can leverage those key highlights about your success in the past to convince new clients, new customers, new investors to work with you in the future. So I would really focus on narrowing in and say, you know, I would use as many numbers as you can. I've done X amount of weddings in X amount of time span. I've gotten X amount of referrals from happy brides that have worked with me. We're known for being able to execute on X timeline, and leverage some of those things that are more about, that are more translatable. So happy clients, the timeline in which you've executed events, and share that with the potential customers and investors.
Nice. No, that's good. Never thought about that. I'm not doing that though. Putting it out there. When I'm done with weddings, I am done.
Can I just say one more thing about that topic though? Because if there are business owners on the line, I will tell you what I hear a lot are folks who have run their business for a while, and sometimes they reach a point where they're ready to transition and exit out and go back to corporate. And there's a lot of concern sometimes about, how do I re-enter corporate? And you, again, have to think about, when we tell the story of what we can transfer, what size budget did you run? What was your operating budget as a business owner? You can leverage that to go to a business unit and say, you want me to manage X amount of marketing budget. The marketing budget for the small business I ran over X amount of years had a marketing budget that was comparable in size. Here are some of the tactics we leverage within that budget. Being able to tell the story, again, of the size of your business, the impact, how many customers you had, and try to make that relate to what's required in that new position you might be pursuing if you're looking to transition back into full-time.
Now that was for me. That point was for me. Do we have any other questions on the line? Anyone else have some questions about their career, advancing in their career, switching careers? She is here and available. We still have about 10 minutes. Let's see. Let me check my email, because people that dial in are really good about sending emails during. See, I knew it. Okay, hold on.
How do you define your purpose and what career industry is for you? Sabrina, are you back with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I saw one question. How do you define your purpose and know what career or industry is for you? I would say I always love to relate careers to relationships. And for instance, we've all maybe had an experience with a relationship before. And I remember I used to ask clients, if you fell in love, you love this person, you got married, and unfortunately something happened to them and they were, you know, they pass away, or they're no longer able to continue. Is that going to be it? Are you never going to love again for the rest of your life? And, you know, often most people would say, no, I'm going to get back out there and I'll try again. And so so I say that to say that's the same way you should be thinking about your career. You can definitely find passion and something that you love deeply, but there might be a time limit on that, right? No matter how much you love something, it may not be forever. So that might mean you may want to make a pivot at some point. It also means that you shouldn't put your career in this place where it has to do everything for you and complete you fully. The same way you wouldn't put a person in that place and say they have to complete me fully and fulfill me. So a couple of thoughts there, just to dive a little deeper into that. I would be thinking about, one, committing to something fully and giving it a full chance for you to build that relationship with it over time. I would also be thinking similar to the exercise I recommended for the person who's looking to understand the skills that they're best at. I would also recommend you catalog the things that bring you the most joy when you're thinking about your career and try to identify. So if you take a week or 2 weeks of your day-to-day, what are the tasks? Who are the kinds of clients that I enjoy interacting with the most? What am I even spending my free time doing? What am I Googling? What am I researching? Really start to go through the process of learning yourself better so you can have a better opportunity of finding something that fulfills you. But where I don't want you to get caught up and stuck is if you reach a time where that no longer fulfills you, it doesn't mean that you aren't living in your purpose. It might mean it's time for a shift. It might mean it's time to pivot. And you don't have to feel stuck in one career or one industry just because you made the commitment to it for the rest of your life.
That's good. Now, if I had to be honest, the stuff that like I enjoy and the things that I watch and I do, I don't know if I could quite make that a career.
What's
in real life, but there's still, you know, I think that's where we have to do the lines of separation. Like we have to be real. Like, okay, like this may be what you enjoy, but you might not be able to do this for the rest of your life.
Well, there's also, so I have, for instance, some friends who work in some industries and they work in the industry because of the lifestyle it affords them that allows them to pursue other things outside that truly fulfill them. So that's also where it takes a bit of self-awareness because you have to know for yourself, do I need my 9 to 5 to fulfill me more, or do I need everything that happens outside of work to fulfill me more? And if you're one of those people where it's like, I care more about my lifestyle, then you might be able to suffer through, you know, a job that you don't crazy love, but affords you the right lifestyle so you can spend all your weekends in Turks and Caicos or wherever else.
That's true. That's a good point. I did have an email question that came through. She said, do you have, Ebony definitely is a Chester. She definitely is a good one. She is gone every weekend. And it was to the point I didn't even think she worked anymore. I was like, dude, where? She was like, well, some of the pictures be throwback, but I do be gone. So it is good to have a
so she is probably struggling in Corona time.
Yes, no flight pictures here recently. Someone did ask, she said, do you have any resources that you would like to share that could help for someone trying to find their passion or deal with any career changes?
Resources. So I would really just leverage, especially if you do find yourself having some downtime because you're not commuting to work, for instance, right now, doing as many self-assessments as possible. So you can do DISC assessment, you can do strength finders, you can do.
You put those in the chat?
Yes, you can do.
Just copy them and send it to her.
Myers-Briggs, Enneagram. So I would think about doing as much as possible to learn as much as you can about yourself, because ultimately the more you learn about yourself, the more it's going to become clear what drives you, what fulfills you. That question around purpose, that will help you uncover your purpose the more that you ask yourself the critical questions and also get to learn more about yourself. One question that I think is an easy place to get started that I love to ask people is, if, you know, money wasn't an object and you could wave a magic wand, Oprah decides to adopt you and be your auntie, and money's no object, what would you do then? And sometimes people don't know the immediate answer, but just spending some time sitting in that space, trying to understand where you think you would like to go if you didn't have to worry about financial responsibilities, it can be a very helpful process. The other thing I will say is, I have a workbook on my website, csuitecoach.com. It's a 24-page workbook. I think Portia in the chat might have used it, but it's a very helpful tool and resource that does a lot of that self-assessment that helps you really think about what is your core purpose? What are the things that drive value? Who are the people in your network that can help you seek out the opportunities you're looking for? How do you build a network? And it goes through a lot of exercises to help you think about your brand and how to unlock opportunities as you define who you are and how you relate to your brand.
So yes, ladies, please make sure you all visit her site. We have a couple of questions that came through. Sakisha said, if I don't know my next career move, but still need to stay on top of my skills until then, what should I do to keep up with my competition?
So I would try to get additional certifications at this time. I would try to think about, even if you don't know your next career move, if you know perhaps what industry or where you're trending, where you'd like to go next, I would think about taking on some of the free courses. I saw someone drop in the chat a link to free courses. There's Udemy, LinkedIn has free courses you can take advantage of as well. There's lots of options there, and really focus on upskilling yourself, because at the end of the day, and if your company has any free courses, take those too. If they also have any sort of tuition reimbursement where they will cover you going to a course, leverage that. Even if it means staying on a couple extra months, because a lot of times I will tell you, as a small business owner where I have to pay for all of my own development, these resources are really expensive. And if your company is able to provide for any of that, those are skills you can take with you for the rest of your life. Right. So you want to tap into as many as possible and upskill yourself, because that just helps add to your potential for a higher salary, your potential for more options when it comes to your career. So I would upskill as much as possible. Someone put in the chat, I think this is great, Zoe. Reach out to people and ask them for a few minutes to chat about their career and their roles. I highly recommend that. I think a good way to reach out to people is try to find a connection. So whether it's someone that you know in common who can make an introduction for you, whether when I was really on my LinkedIn grind, when I was looking for my first job, I would do everything from, I'm an AKA, I know Sabrina's a Delta AKA Love.
Wait a minute. So I usually have a pink backdrop, but you see I have on this neon green shirt. I was like, oh no, I'm changing the backdrop today. If none of y'all, for the people that've been on the other ones, they know I've had this pretty pink one, but I had to go black and white today because I refused. I was like, and Angelina gonna be on here? Oh no, ma'am. No, ma'am. But go ahead.
Every Delta I know loves to wear pink and green. It's very curious to me. But anyway.
Well, whatever. But go ahead.
But so I would even reach out to people.
Oh, we can't hear.
You hear me now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would even reach out to people and say, I see you're a soror. I'm very interested in the industry you're a part of. Mm-hmm. I was even reaching out to people. I went to Davidson College in North Carolina. I would reach out to people who went to Chapel Hill and say, I see you also went to school in North Carolina. So find creative ways to make that connection with people and make your outreach very personal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think this is a really good wrap-up question for us. I think this came from Tracy. She said, we've gotten some great tips. Angelina, can you sum up 3 key messages that you want us to walk away with on the best way to leverage crossover skills?
Oh, wow. Thank you. What a great question. So if I had to narrow it down to 3, I would say the number one thing is really doing your research and preparation about the industry you want to go into, so that you are asking the right questions and you're communicating the right story that demonstrates that you do have what it takes to be a part of that industry. I would also highlight networking and the importance of building your network, because sometimes all it really is someone being willing to take a chance on you, and that they're not going to be willing to do that if they don't have a personal relationship with you. So you want to be intentional about defining a new network in that industry or in that company that you're seeking to move into. So have a really intentional plan when it comes to networking. And then the third one I would say is really work on marketing yourself. Work on telling the story of your accomplishments. Work on making sure you're highlighting your successes, what you've done well, and you're telling the story of how those things will translate into the next role that you're seeking.
Nice. Thank you so much, Angelina. Does anyone have any wrap-up questions? I have like 2 public service announcements. So if you have any wrap-up questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat box. I'm going to pull up a picture. 1 second. I talked about this on our last one, so sorry if this is redundant. As you all know, we have the Prevailing Woman Pandemic Outreach going on now. We're sending groceries and essential needs to families. We have collected over 3 days, we have collected $1,925. That number has actually gone up by maybe about another 50 since today. Our goal is $2,500, and we have a corporate company, Biogen, that is going to match our donations. We've been able to send groceries to 6 families. They get $250 per household. So we've really been able to bless a few people. And one of the biggest things is that the shirt that I have on today is an option of one of the shirts that you can receive after you make your donation. So please, if you can support, please help us out in this endeavor. Is for our 1-year anniversary. Well, our 3-year anniversary is in April, so of course we can't do anything. So I figured we would give back to the community. And the Prevailing Woman Overcomes is a nonprofit, so just FYI. And then the second announcement is of course on Monday we will go right into our next. And a lot of people are asking for your website. I don't know if you want to drop your website, Angelina, in the chat. On Monday, we are going to go into our next webinar. That is going to be with Paris Guy. She's another good friend of Angelina's and of mine. She's in Brooklyn.
Paris is in the Bronx.
One of those bees. So anyways, we have someone else coming from New York. She has a very vast experience in the media, entertainment, press, and beauty. As well. So she's going to be talking to us about the benefits of obtaining press as a career professional. So whether you are a small business owner, whether you are just an actual 9-to-5er or seeking new employment, press can work for all of us in its own different ways. She's going to be here on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk to us about that. So if we don't have it, wait, I think I saw someone say they had a question. I see your website. The resources, you already put that in there. Yep, and I think that's everything. So thank you all again for another successful webinar. I hope y'all have a relaxing weekend for everyone that has to work throughout the week. But stay in the house, y'all, so we can end this. Just
flatten the curve, stay home.
Flatten the curve. I will see you all Monday night. Thank you so much, Angelina, and thank you all for everything. Talk to you soon.